Hi, 7th grade. This is my first of 2 videos for week 3. This video is going to be reading the document that you are going to be doing your worksheets over this week, and it's also going to show you how to complete the first worksheet you should do. So just know during this video you probably won't be seeing my face, maybe until the end, because I'm going to do full screen to read the document. Alright, let's go ahead and start reading that. So what we are learning about this week is asexual reproduction. So I'm going to read through this document and then I'm going to show you the first assignment, and I will do one example for you. So asexual reproduction is a form of reproduction which does not involve fertilization. Only one parent is involved in asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is the primary form of reproduction for single-celled organisms such as mold and bacteria. Many plants and fungi produce asexually as well. Advantages. Because asexual reproduction skips the processes of making gametes and then fertilization, it happens much faster than sexual reproduction and requires less energy. Asexual reproduction can make many offspring very quickly. It is also an advantage to be able to reproduce without a partner. This is helpful in situations where the population is low, which reduces the chance of finding a mate. It also helps during colonization of isolated habitats such as islands, where a single member of the species is enough to start a new population. Disadvantages. A consequence of asexual reproduction is that offspring are typically genetically identical to their parent. This results in fewer genetic varieties than sexual reproduction. This is not advantageous if the environment is changing. For example, if a new predator or disease appears and an organism is defenseless against it, an asexual offspring is more likely to be wiped out by it. In contrast, an offspring that was reproduced sexually has a higher chance of having more members survive due to the genetic variety. One could argue that asexual reproduction is inferior because it stifles the potential for change. So now we're going to get into types of sexual reproduction. So our first type is binary fission. Many single-celled organisms, unicellular, such as bacteria and protists, reproduce asexually through binary fission. The cell copies its contents, including its nucleus and other organelles, and then splits into 2 cells, with each one being identical. The process of binary fission is quite simple. The organism literally divides itself into 2 organisms. Our next one is budding. The parent organism produces a bud, a smaller version of itself, which eventually detaches itself from the parent and becomes a self-sufficient individual that is identical to the parent. Some cells split via budding, for example baker's yeast, resulting in a mother and daughter cell. An animal that reproduces by budding is Hydra. The offspring organism is smaller than the parent, but the bud eventually grows into a fully mature individual that individually breaks away from the parent. Coral also reproduces this way, but do not detach themselves. We have spore formation, also known as sporogenesis. Many multicellular organisms form spores during their life cycle in a process called sporogenesis. Spores are similar to seeds, but are produced by the division of cells on the parent, not by the union of 2 cells by fertilization. One parent may produce many spores, each of which will grow into a new individual identical to its parents. Example, fungi, green algae, molds, and ferns. Many spores are produced to ensure that at least some of the individual organisms will survive. Fragmentation, aka regeneration. Fragmentation is a form of asexual reproduction where a new organism grows from a fragment of the parent. Each fragment develops into a mature, fully grown individual. Fragmentation is seen in organisms such as animals, some annelid worms, and starfish, fungi, and plants. Vegetative reproduction, which is plants only. Vegetative reproduction is a type of asexual reproduction found in plants where new individuals are formed without the production of seeds or spores. Examples for vegetative reproduction include the formation of plantlets on specialized leaves, for example in calicos and spider plants, the growth of new plants out of rhizomes, example in strawberry, or the formation of new bulbs, example in tulips. Asexual reproduction in flowering plants is common. So now we're going to get into different examples. First example is rhizomes. Plants such as grasses, cattails, and sedges produce underground stems or rhizomes. As these stems grow through the soil, they will periodically produce roots and a new above ground shoot. A new separate plant will form. Next, tubers. Tubers are actually modified rhizomes. They are found in such plants as potatoes. They develop when specialized stem branches grown down into the ground and swell up with starch-containing cells. Buds on the tubers will grow into new plants. Examine the potato tuber and note the buds, which are commonly termed eyes. Runners. These are horizontally growing stems that produce few, if any, leaves. At the spot where a leaf would normally develop a node, these plants will produce roots down into the soil and new above ground shoots. Examine the strawberry plant or spider plant. Note the runner and the new shoots. Plantlets. A few seed plants such as the duckweed and canico produce miniature plants on the end of their leaves. These drop off and develop into mature plants. The duckweed, which is an aquatic plant, reproduces almost entirely by this method. And last is bulbs. Onions, chives, and lilies overwinter in the form of a bulb. Each bulb has a very short stem which is surrounded by fleshy leaves. In the spring, the shoot apex begins to grow using the nutrients stored in the leaves. So there's our reading. I'll also be posting this on Classroom if you need to go back and read it. So your first assignment is called Asexual Reproduction Grid. The directions, go back and read the text if needed and complete the grid below. For the picture, please find a picture on Google and copy it into the section. You should be able to find everything from the reading. So, I listed all the types of asexual reproduction over here on the side. You need to answer who does this, so what kind of organisms do, how does it happen, describe its process, and include a picture of it. So I will do our first one for us. So we have binary fission. I'm going to quickly make my screen a split screen. Okay, so looking at binary fission, I'm going to change the color red. So who does binary fission? So if we look at the reading here, it says single-celled organisms such as bacteria and protists. So we have bacteria and protists. How does this happen? Describe the process. So going back into the reading, it says cell copies its contents and then splits into two cells. So cells copy contents and split into two cells. And then for a picture, I'm just going to go to Google and I'm going to type in binary fission. Look at the images. And let's do this picture here. So I'm going to copy it and paste it into here. So that's just how you do that. You need to do that for the rest of these, and I will see you in the next video to show you how to do your next assignment. Alright, bye guys.